Hey guys, welcome back to the Sure Parenting podcast, where every parent deserves to feel sure of their parenting. I'm your host, Sammy Bell, creator of Sure Parenting and author of Sure Parenting, Building Blocks to Create Their Best Childhood. Here on the podcast, we address the issues that make parents question themselves or their kids, and we discuss creative solutions that meet the needs of each unique parent and child. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the Sure Parenting channel. I today wanted to talk about a topic that I was just covering in a one-on-one session that I think is probably applicable everywhere. And it's an approach that I think can be useful to introduce to our kids. Little kids do not do abstract thinking. Keep that in mind, because it's a rather abstract activity. But this has to do with our feelings and the feelings that come to us where we're sitting there going, why am I feeling like this? This doesn't make sense. And or feelings that are just really overwhelming. All human beings go through some level of that at some point in their life. Sometimes you're really even keeled and then some big thing happens. Sometimes it doesn't even seem like a big thing. Like it doesn't seem like it should be this anxiety inducing or this upsetting or what have you. This enraging, whatever that is. And yet here we are. The feelings are the feelings. So what I want to say to you guys is that feelings are fine. We talk about this with kids all the time. The feelings themselves are fine. All feelings. And most of us were raised with beliefs that counter that anger is a bad thing, or being sad is a bad thing, or, being quiet and contemplating things and needing time to think is a bad thing. Everybody's families were different, and everybody's families had different opinions on different things, different feelings rather, but the discomfort with emotional expression is a nearly universal experience for folks in their 30s and 40s. And so now that we are the adult, we have to go in and kind of rewrite those patterns. So when I was about 10, I had a friend who wrote a poem. And in this poem, she personified each feeling, and they each spoke for themselves. Anger had something to say, sadness had something to say, anxiety had something to say. And it was so moving. I still remember, I don't remember the words of the poem she wrote, but I remember like holding her notebook and reading and flipping the page and being like, oh my gosh, this is huge. It was so incredibly impactful to me. And I've never forgotten that. And so, what that has evolved into as I've gotten older is this practice that I call inviting to tea. So, when I have a feeling, a big feeling in particular that pops up, and I feel like, what is that? Oh my goodness, that's a lot. Overwhelmed, flooded. Don't particularly enjoy that. What is happening? I will first try to identify the feeling. Feelings wheels can be helpful. Lindsey Brom, I believe is her name. She made a feelings wheel that is connected with body sensations for people that have a hard time identifying the feelings. So you can identify like, well, what is my body feeling? And then work your way down to the feelings that might mean. Really, really impactful exercise to use. You can get her chart on her website for, I want to say like under $5. I think it's like $3.99 or something for personal use. And then professional use is like $10, which means you could share it if you have clients. And very, very much worth it. Depending on who's listening, if you work with anybody around emotions, you should have this feelings wheel because it combines two really important pieces. There's the feelings, which is important, but there's also the somatic side, which is equally as important. So anyways, using that, figuring out what is the feeling. I have a decent idea usually which wedge of the wheel I'm going to be looking at. but it can help narrow it down. For me, at least, even just reading through and saying the feelings out loud, one of them will have a certain resonance where I'm like, ah, there it is. That's the one, right? So then I will do a visualization exercise where I invite this feeling to tea. Oh, hello, insecurity. Nice to see you. Come on in. Let's sit down and talk. As if this is a literal relative that just knocked on my door and I opened the door and they're standing there. I'm not going to slam the door in their face. I'm not going to yell through the door, go away. Personally, I mean, I'm sure that some people have some family members that that might be the right response. But this is a non-threatening family member. They might be a little bit weird, they might be a little eccentric. It's just somebody we're going to have a conversation with. So we invite insecurity in and we sit down and talk. And I'll ask, what is it that you have to say? I'll ask, what are you worried about? I will ask, what message do you have for me? And I'll listen. And you can also do this in written form. So if visualization is not your thing or you feel like a lunatic talking to yourself, fair enough. I've heard these comments. You can try writing to the feeling. So I assigned this to a client last week, and I got a text this morning that was such a profound exercise, and I was able to uncover some really deep stuff. And guess what? I was given this exercise by Jasmine Gill. Actually, if you know her, she is absolutely magically amazing. Utterly amazing. Look for her on Facebook. She's an incredible human. So this is where I got the idea anyways. But it is so profound to write to a feeling and then have the feeling write back. So I did this in my journal. I have a specific journal for like journaling feeling stuff. And I wrote, Anger, what do you have to tell me today? What is your message today? And then I started writing back. Hey, Sammy, I'm Anger. This is what I have to say. And I started writing. And what happens when you write is you activate 10,000 more neurons than when you're just sitting there thinking. I've often likened it to if you had a ball of yarn that was kind of all tangled up, not an organized ball, but just a pile of yarn, so to speak. You could stare at it all day. You could try to visually follow one little thread, but it's a big mangled mess. The only way you're going to untangle that mess is to grab an end and slowly start pulling and working it out, untangling the knots as you find them, and being patient enough to actually physically work through. It's the same thing for our thoughts. So when we're doing this exercise, we are activating 10,000 more neurons. We're pulling the thread and working through and following and staying on track enough to follow the trains of thought to wherever their roots are. And when we write in the third person, we activate a different part of the brain than the first person. When we're thinking in first person and I, and me, we're in one space. And when we think in third person, now Anger is writing to Sammy, then we are activating a whole different part of our brain. And it is tremendous, the things that will come out that will shock you. You were like, I did not know that was even in there. How is that in there? I'm in my head. I know my thoughts. How is it? I don't know what to tell you, but it's a really incredible exercise. So the premise of all of this is to get comfortable feeling your feelings. All feelings are fine. Not all behaviors are fine, but all feelings are fine. And we have to recognize the feeling, call it what it is, and say, hey, what do you have to tell me? In order for the purpose of that feeling to deliver that message to be met. Once they have delivered the message, once we've received the message, then they can go on their way. So the visualization exercise can even be done with kids. Certainly writing to the feelings can be done, but I would imagine unless you're dealing with like a teenager, that might be a little bit harder. But you know your kid, so follow their lead. What you can do with younger kids is to help them to process a feeling with art. So instead of, this structure where we have like kind of a mission to uncover and dig and get an answer, for them, it's a process. It's like, you're feeling really angry. Show me with this paper with these crayons. And some kids will crumple the paper, and some kids will rip it into a million pieces, and some kids will take the crayon and scribble, 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 scribble. And those are very good ways to transmute the energy of anger into expression in a way that is safe for those around them. Deep breaths are great, but there's a huge leap from I want to punch my brother to taking a deep breath. So we need an in-between step. It's too big of a step for a lot of kids. We need an in-between step where they can use the activation energy in their body and still not hurt somebody. Throwing ice at the ground and watching it splatter is another one. Even adults, by the way, can do scribbling. Again, Jasmine Gill taught me that skill set. And yes, there's Black journaling. I've done a video on that on my YouTube channel. There's lots of things, but the premise again is to figure out what is it that I'm feeling, personify that feeling as if it was a person, and to ask that feeling, what is your message for me today? And when we do that, we start to develop a relationship with these feelings where anger is my friend. Anger has my back. I am so grateful for this powerhouse woman who is always looking out for me, who cares more about me than literally anybody else on the planet. I have somebody that cool in my corner. That's a really nice way to feel about anger. I don't feel overwhelmed. I don't feel like I can't control her. I don't need to control her. She's just telling me a message. What I do, what behaviors I choose with my own body, those are on me. But anger can come and tell me her opinion. She can tell me, hey, watch out. She can tell me that was out of line and you deserve better than that right there. Absolutely. I agree, girl. Thanks for having my back. And getting to that point with my feelings where I can feel appreciation for the role that they play in my life is incredibly freeing and gives me a deep sense of acceptance and peace. So I wanted to share that with you. If you like these exercises, if you do these exercises, please share below. Let me know how it went for you. Let me know if you're willing, if you want, what you discovered. If you have something else that you do to communicate with your feelings, to learn from your feelings, anything like that in that vein, tell me, because I would love to interview you for the podcast. Because here's the thing. I personally believe that we are part of a generation of people that got sick of the status quo. And there's been generations before us that that's also been true for. But in particular, we have been targeting the emotional world. And we're all doing it in our own ways, and we're all doing little pieces ourselves. But it's the collective that is magic. It's me doing my part, and Jasmine doing her part, and Nicole doing her part, and Paige doing her part. It's all of us learning our pieces of it and then combining forces and communicating with each other and cross-sharing and empowering and inspiring. And it is raising us all up to the next level. That is my favorite thing in the world. To be a part of that is my favorite thing in the world. So if you are a part of it, don't be afraid to send me a message, sammy@sureparenting.com, and let me know. Let me know what you want to share so that I can interview you and let you share in this conversation with this particular group. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. I hope it helps, and I'll see you next time. Bye.